Hi, my name is Becky, and these are some poems that I've written about my travels in Israel. The first one is called Remembering Tzafat. The thing I most remember about Tzafat, ancient city of mysticism and Kabbalah perched in the mountains of Galilee that seem shrouded in eternal fog, is not the Kabbalah man, Avraham, who played us music from the shofar and taught us about Jewish meditation, seeing black fire on white fire, or beyond ourselves life's game, in tune and unconditionally in love with a nearly invisible truth. This is not what I remember most, although reeling with possibilities as I walked out of his abode, a book on Jewish meditation and Kabbalah art in hand, and 2 steps away from dropping out of grad school, America, life, to stay in the magical, mystical mountain that seemed oddly like a place I already knew or maybe had just dreamed about. The thing I remember the most is not the cobbled ancient alleyways, narrow and winding, brimming with art and life, the crumbling pillars framing the horizon, sudden drop-offs where the city meets the cliff and seems to slip into the oblivion it always already was. Or how I hovered at the edges of alleyways for what seemed like hours, experimenting with different visions through my telephoto lens, intoxicated from the feast of images that blurred together until I could almost see what was not before me. What I first remember when I think of Tzafat is a few brief minutes when you hovered with me in an alley, helping me decide the best way to capture the shot. Not just any alley, but a precipitous alley descending off the road of time and civilization into the green abyss. You suggested I wait for a person to pass by, for then maybe one could sense the pilgrimage that the walk was meant to be. Childishly eager, you asked to borrow the camera and take the shot. I think we both forgot the gun that hung at your sides, that for 7 days you had vigilantly been ready to guard us with. For a moment there seemed no space between us, as we waited silently for a person to come, until awakening from the dream you said to me, matter-of-factly, "Shooting a good picture is much like shooting the sniper gun. Hold your breath, steady hand, wait for target." I laughed, slightly nervous, as our worlds pulled back apart. Your eyes, strangely full yet empty, I tried to read them. Sorrow? Duty? Pride? I did not know. But I think now that neither of us understood, or will ever understand, and that perhaps neither of us wanted to leave that mystic mountain town, where had we stayed long enough, we might have been relieved of the burden. Sabbath in Jerusalem. I can hear my breath. The city sleeps like a baby. Everything is put away. Cars, cameras, cafes, even the guns and rigid pretenses seem muted. More than a religious rendezvous, I recline into a world where everyone's clock stops, race, religion, gender, and beliefs aside. Why can't all Saturdays everywhere be like this? Affectations, artifice, consumption, with which I was once so accustomed, swirl into a receding future that perhaps does not have to happen. The white Jerusalem stones seemed to speak more loudly this morning as we walked to the Wailing Wall. The Muslim quarter, just yesterday foreboding and odd when I learned I could not enter to buy a cross for my friend, or taste the pastries that looked and smelled so delicious, is today peaceful and familiar. Their stores, too, are shut, and I imagine people relaxing in homes I cannot, and perhaps never will see, in the Holy Land everyone wants to claim as their own. And perhaps on Sabbath they can. Even I, who am not sure I believe in God, or at least not as fervently as many, feel the sacredness is mine too, as I slip a note into the Wailing Wall with a prayer for my father, thousands of miles away, to get better, for time to slow down its merciless march, as it is in all of Jerusalem today. TelAviv after dark. TelAviv hit me at the speed of light. After weeks of riding camels, picking mangoes, and traversing ancient cobblestones perhaps older than anything I have touched, besides the earth itself, the billboards and high-rises did not seem to belong, like someone should tear them down and put them back in their boxes so the sea could hold its rightful place in the horizon. Still, I fell in love with what beauty I could find. The electric buzz, metropolitan swagger seemed to be anyone's for the taking. Plastic gods allow all to worship, yet create different kinds of divides, like the impoverished neighborhoods of Ethiopian refugees so carefully concealed. But if forgetting is the best lifeline available to rescue us from the divide, and so often it is, then TelAviv too has its own song to sing. Like after sunset in Jaffa, dark waves lap onto a darker shore, next to the dark club where the beat of the Israeli band picks up. Crooning and strumming with eyes closed, but not blind, I think, to how Muslims, Jews, refugees, tourists sway to their music together, effortlessly alive and free. Thanks for listening to my poems. So my name is Becky. I'm an English PhD student, an amateur writer and photographer. I live in Northern California, but I've lived in several different countries and states. I love traveling. I've traveled abroad as an English teacher, as a student, a yoga teacher, and always as an artist at heart, eager to share my creative visions of other cultures.